Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Maureen O'Connor from Quilters Heaven in Northbrook, Illinois, and I am the Opinionated Quilter. Today's episode, number 118, is transforming a pattern to meet your needs. Stay tuned for the winner of the quilt top concentric rectangles and the announcement of our new giveaway. I follow Bonnie Hunter, who's quiltville.com on Instagram, and she's a big scrap quilter if you don't know her, and that's probably why I follow her, because I'm always trying to find ways to use my scraps. So recently she was in Ireland and posted beautiful pictures of Ireland, and shortly thereafter she came out with the 2024 Leaders and Enders Challenge. Now, for those who do not use leaders and enders or don't know what they are, people put a little scrap of fabric in their sewing machine before they start sewing their little pieces together, the chain piecing, and then when they finish, they put another piece in behind it, or you can cut off the first piece and put it in behind it, so that you don't use as much thread. There's only that little tiny little bit of thread between the pieces, as opposed to if you pulled out your piece and cut your thread, you might use 8 to 10 inches of thread. It's a way to conserve thread. Now, I don't use leaders and enders. Many people just use the same little piece over and over again, and when it's finally got so much thread on it, they toss it. And other people take little pieces that they want to sew together and use those. Many times you see the little half square triangles that people cut off the flip and sew method, feeding those through to begin and end, and then they end up with a stack of half square triangles, or if they use just little squares, and they take those pieces and make them into a project. So when I saw the Leaders and Enders challenge, I thought, well, I don't use leaders and enders. I didn't even bother looking at the pattern. Big mistake. I found out that I really liked the pattern. Kat, who works here, also follows Bonnie Hunter, and she brought in the pattern. It's a free download off of her website. We'll provide the link to it. I just really liked the pattern, and she did it in all blues and greens because she'd been in Ireland. In fact, I think she even calls it County Clare. Don't hold me to that, but she was in County Clare. So I saw the pattern and I was like, I really like this. But I don't have piles of little squares already cut. She uses a total scrap sorting system. And if you follow her, you can see how she does it. I do mine a little bit differently. I've got boxes of 2.5 inch strips, 1.5 inch strips, 2 inch strips, and then pieces that are not full width of fabric. So let's get to how we transform the pattern. First, you like the pattern, but you don't use the method that it's made, the way it's made. So first, look at what pieces are used. I looked at her pattern, and they're all 2.5 inch pieces or 1.5 inch pieces. That's what I have the most in my scrap boxes that I'm desperately trying to get rid of. So I'm like, okay, that's it. I have to make this pattern. Well, it's quite simple doing it strip piecing. This is the ending block. So now, if you do download her pattern and look at it, I flipped the blues and the greens. She had blues here and greens here. I wanted the green to be the bigger piece. So I flipped mine. But this unit is here and here, and she shows it being made up of a 2.5 inch square, a 2.5 by 1.5 inch rectangle, a 2.5 inch by 1.5 inch rectangle, and a 1.5 inch square. Well, what my eyes immediately see is a 2.5 inch strip of green with a 1.5 inch strip of white or neutral or light, whatever you want to call it. So I sewed those together. Same over here. This is 2.5 inches, and this is 1.5 inches. 2.5 inch light, 1.5 inch green. Cut these into 2.5 inch chunks, these into 1.5 inch, and here's your two pieces. Sew them together. Now, I will make one comment on her pressing directions. She tells you to press all to the light. Well, to me, I mean, sometimes you have to press to the light, but if you're given a choice, I would press to the dark. So I completely flip-flopped her pressing directions. It still all works together perfectly. But instead of worrying about having this green sticking out behind the white, I've got the white behind the green. So I like that pressing direction better. So now I have this unit, and I have to make two of them for the block. And because I wanted it to look scrappy, I did not use two of these sets. I made a second set of a different pair. Then we go to this piece, which is here. And same thing. This is 2.5 inch, 1.5, 3 1.5s, 2.5, 1.5. So I made 3 strip sets. This is this, 2.5, 1.5, 3 1.5s, again a 1.5 and a 2.5. These are all cut into 1.5 inch pieces to get these units here. Sew them together, make 2 of them, and then sew them together here. This isn't rocket science. You just have to see if the pieces that are used in the pattern are pieces that you have in your scrap bin. And like I said, I'm desperate to get rid of these gazillion 2.5 inch strips that I have. We've even kind of stopped cutting them from the ends of our bolts because we have so many, we haven't been able to get rid of them. So I am already pulled a whole bunch of strips, have them all paired up and ready to go to sew, and hopefully I'll have a beautiful County Clare quilt to show you soon. One more word on leaders and enders. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm old. I can't seem to get my head around sewing 2 projects at the same time. If you're sewing pieces of these in with the project that you're working with, even if the colors are dissimilar, you have to be clipping and cutting and putting your leaders and enders piles together, keeping them organized, trying to keep your project you're currently working on organized. My brain just doesn't work that way. Now, if yours does and you can and you like it, by all means do it. Everybody has to do what works for them. 2 projects at the same time is just not something that I'm able to do. Now, someone will say, yeah, but Maureen, you have 30 projects you're working on right now. Well, I probably do, but I only work on one at a time. When I switch, I actually have 3 I'm currently actively working on. And when I switch, I put away one. It's either all bagged up or put in a shoebox, set aside, and then I start the next one. And that's just how I work. And once again, you have to do what works for you. This is what I find works for me. But I want to encourage you to, just because a pattern doesn't work for the scraps you have, and it doesn't have to all be scraps. In this case, it is. But just because a pattern doesn't work for the way you like to work, doesn't mean you can't find a way to make it work. And that's just what I did here. I took the pattern and made it work for the pieces that I have. So I look forward to showing it to you when it's finished. Let's move on to the winner of the Quilt Top giveaway, concentric rectangles. The winner is Doris R2832. Please send me your mailing address to quiltersheaveninc@gmail.com and I'll get it out to you. Now, I have a little change in the giveaway this week. I decided, well, I didn't decide. I kind of ran out of quilt tops to give away. I need to go through them again and pull out a few more because there's many more I will never get to. I just don't have them organized to give one away today. So I pulled some fat quarters. So I've got a fat quarter bundle to give you. It's 6. Now the person who gave us these, she was downsizing. Isn't it a pretty assortment? She was downsizing, and she doesn't care if they're given to a charity or given to an individual person. She just wants somebody to use them and love them. And I know if you enter to win these, you will use them and you will love them. I think 3 or 4 of them, 3 of them still have their original label on them. Apparently, there were several in here from this shop. It's in Clive, Iowa. It's called Creekside Quilting. And she apparently went there fairly often because I saw even sales receipts from there in the boxes. But it's all good quality, quilt shop quality cottons. So if you'd like to win this 6 fat quarter bundle, you know what to do. Comment, put in the comment, fat quarter bundle. You need to like my video and you need to subscribe to my channel. So please enter. And that's today's episode. So until next time, happy sewing.